Hello everyone, and welcome back to our Satisfactory playthrough. What did we do last time? Last time, we got a little starter factory set up, and we built the space elevator. Now, what we've got to do today is I would like to do a little bit more Solarpunk type stuff, considering, I'd like this to be a Solarpunky playthrough, and we really haven't done a lot of Solarpunky stuff. Obviously, we're still in the starter, so it's going to take a little bit for us to get there. Hopefully, we can do it today. So now, we can actually start building some of the more complicated stuff. Because now we have the assembler. We should have all those resources. I think I've got those tucked away. Rotors and reinforced iron plate. Beautiful. He's still... oh, yeah. Still got plenty of leaves and wood making the biomass, so we're not going to run out of power anytime soon.
Wrong!
We might run out of power. So we only got 100 megawatts capacity. Do I have Mark II belts here? Did I do that? So we have 120 resources a minute we can do now. I might quickly improve power a little bit. I'll just make this a little bit more efficient. And then I'll be right back. Well, this is a little bit more efficient now. All we've done is just converted the regular biomass into solid biomass fuel, which is a lot more efficient than the other stuff. And we've got a bit more capacity now, a bit more headroom, so we'll have plenty of room in power for our other factories. In case anyone didn't know, because honestly I didn't even really notice this, if you hover over this one, give that a click, you can actually tell how much you're burning per minute, which is really useful. I wish I'd known about that sooner. So solid biofuel, you can see, burns at 4 per minute. That's only when you're actually consuming the power, though. Biomass generators work a little bit differently than every other generator in the game, and it's that they only produce power when you are using power. So when we have a machine over here, say this miner, let's have a quick look in here. This is using up 4 megawatts of power, right? But if this miner was turned off, then the generators would produce 4 megawatts of power less. It's nice for the early game where you don't want to have to be collecting a ton of wooden leaves, because we're going to run out of leaves pretty quickly here. But thankfully the wood should be fine for a while, because the wood's very, very efficient. The leaves, 120 only gives you 60 biomass, but with the wood, 60 wood gives you 300 biomass, which is an absolute ton. And we're only converting 120 of that into solid biofuel anyway, just because that's all our belts can handle. But for now, it's fine.
It's fine. Everything is fine.
It's functional. That's all we need. In that case, we need to start parts assembly. Now, for this, we grab an assembler here. We want to be making modular frames. It's probably the main thing we want. Ideally, we want to be getting to smart plating. That's obviously the end game for phase 1, which takes reinforced iron plate and rotors to make 2 smart plating a minute. However, first, I would like modular frames. Fabric is pretty good if you want to get the parachute, just save you from falls, but I haven't even unlocked that yet. So we might do that a little bit later, although actually another hand equipment slot might be nice. For now, we're just going to do a regular starter factory. So we're going to probably delete all of this, if I'm being honest. Completely rebuild it from scratch, and see if we can't get some of the more complicated parts. We can get the space elevator up and running and get on to phase 2. I don't really want to just lay out a bunch of platforms, but we may need to, at least at the start. We're going to be not very Solarpunky at the start, unfortunately. But that's just the way this goes. You got to get your resources first, then we can do all the decorating later. It's gorgeous. All right, for now, I'll see you in a sec.
A few minutes later.
Alrighty, I guess we'll just give you guys a quick update while we're just done with the iron here. So each one of these has got a 60 line of iron, each coming from a normal node Mark I miner. Each one of those 60 lines gets split between 2 smelters. Obviously these smelters, 30 iron gives us 30 ingots. And these are making, oh, if I can get over this, 20 plates, another 20 plates, and another 20 plates. So that is 60 plates per minute going into this bin. Same over here. Each one of these is making 15 iron rods. Nice and easy. That is giving us 60 iron rods over to here. And last but not least, with that alternate recipe that we unlocked, we can turn iron ingots directly into screws. So we've got 100 screws going into here. We've got the 3 basics now actually efficiently set up. I'll get the copper and limestone going as well, and then once I've got that, then we can actually start moving on to assemblers. As for right now, it doesn't look super pretty, but that's early game satisfactory. Decorations come later. For now, we just gotta get it working. I guess I would call this like a starter iron. If you can get, whatever that is, 180 iron a minute, which that may be a bit difficult if you start in the grass fields starting location. The grass fields has a lot of impure nodes, so you're actually only going to be running off of 30 iron ore a minute, whereas I've started in the rocky desert, and the rocky desert has got a lot of normal nodes around. Little spoilers for anyone who doesn't know. This is the map. All the starting locations are actually all on the same map. So the rocky desert's up here, the grasslands are somewhere down here, the dune desert's over here, and the last one that I can't remember the name off the top of my head is right in the middle. That starting location is pretty bad, if I'm being honest. There's a lot of dangerous enemies in there, so that's why we started off on the rocky desert. Makes life a little bit easier when we're starting out. Anyone who's doing a first time playthrough, I'd highly recommend you start in the grassy fieldlands, even though it's only got impure nodes. They are abundant. There's so many of them everywhere. And there's so much open space. Obviously, there's a lot of open space here too, but the grassy fieldlands are very nice. I've always started there. I figured I might as well start somewhere different. So yeah, that's a quick update. I'll keep going, get copper and concrete sorted. See you in a sec. Tell you what, I've just built the second story here, and that's where we're going to be doing the copper and the limestone. But I figured I'd quickly show you something. If you don't want to have to build these giant ramps that take up so much room, there is a little old school trick that we used to do back in the beta when we didn't have decorations, is we would just stack these storage containers on top of each other, and then we have a ladder. And you can now get ladders on their own, but you never used to be able to. We haven't unlocked ladders just yet. We'll get there in a sec. But I figured I'd quickly show that, because this is a really, like, helpful thing that not a lot of people kind of utilize anymore. Since we've gotten all this new stuff, people have kind of forgotten about what we used to do in the beta. So yeah, if you ever need a ladder and you don't want to build giant ramps, just stack some storage containers on top of each other. It's nice and easy. Alright, I'll keep going. Alrighty, so I'll be honest, this wasn't really meant to be a tips and tricks video, but hey, I might as well throw them in there while I've got them. So, if you are building, it is best to start your buildings by holding down control. Now the reason why you do that is because it snaps what you're building to the world grid. So it's like the world itself is on a grid. You can technically place this sort of anywhere you want, in any direction you want, and you can start building, and you know, it won't really matter. You can just build whatever. However, to make life a little bit easier, for example, like here, where I want to keep all my lines nice and straight, if I hold down control, well, now I know that that is directly below me. Now I can build straight there. It's directly below me, and I can run my conveyor belts nice and straight the whole way. Now I didn't have to build down there and try and get a node from this. It's nice and easy. So yeah, highly recommend. Hold down control when you're building your very first building, and that way everything else just kind of lines up nicely on the world grid. It also means that your miners line up nicely. In fact, I think I might be able to show you this. Yeah. So your miners also perfectly straight. Look at that. So you won't have like weird wonky miners. You can just keep them all nice and straight with your will. I like nice, clean, neat lines, and that's how you get them. Round 3 of Jazzy's tips and tricks that I wasn't expecting to do for this video. I figure, let's have a look at this. So I've got 60 copper ore coming in from over this node, which means I can split it into 2 smelters. 30 copper ore each into these 2. That's going to produce 60 ingots. Now, what happens when we have a recipe like this copper sheets that uses 20 copper ingots? Now, obviously 30 doesn't go evenly into that. What you might think of doing is if you added a merger, let's just put a merger right there, and then we add a splitter across on both sides. We do this. What you're looking at here is 30 ingots going that way. Splitters always split evenly, So 15 would go that way and 15 would go this way. Now, what that's going to mean is that this is going to be inefficient because we actually need 20 copper ingot a minute, not 15. It will work. It will be functional. But what needs to happen is you need to saturate all the belts with lots and lots of the actual ingots and wait until the machines fill up. As they backfill, then they will be completely good. Because this one here, this one needs 20 ingots a minute, but it is getting 15 from this one, 15 from this, so it's actually getting 30. So this will eventually back up once it's completely full. Once it's full, the splitters will stop splitting evenly, and they will just direct all of the overflow going this way. So this is a completely valid setup, and honestly, I will probably do this pretty often, just because trying to change all of your belts into specific pathways can be a bit annoying. It takes up a lot of space, and it's just a bit of math, but in this sort of situation, it's actually pretty easy, because all we've got to do is move the merger back a little bit. Because rather than merging two split lines, if we just merge this line, put it somewhere around there, this has got 30 ingots, this has got 30 ingots, now we've got 60 ingots coming out. And all we do is just split that way. Split there. So now we've got 20, because 60 divided by 3 is 20. So nice and easy. 60 coming in, 20, 20, 20. Nice and even. That means that this will never stop, it'll never back up, it'll never backflow. And that's kind of the important thing about Satisfactory, is that you don't really want things to back up. You don't want to be inefficient. It's not just because Ada tells you to and she wants you to be as efficient as possible to save the day. But what we really want is we just want machines to always be working, you know? But the only time we want machines to back up is when the bins that we're actually putting all the resources into fill up. Until they fill up, we want the machines to always be running. So yeah, I guess that's a little splitter and merger lesson. This is very, very basic. I will go into more depth when we unlock some of the other splitters and mergers. You can get like smart splitters and programmable splitters. It gets pretty crazy, but early on, this is just a nice little tip. Jazzy's tips.
That's what she said!
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Okie dokie, so update on starter base level 2. We have now got copper and limestone all automated. So we've got 60 wire a minute, 30 cable a minute, 30 concrete, and 30 copper sheets. So that's plenty of material to be enough for like our first starter factory, which is quite nice. Something I did want to ask you guys, if you wanted to let me know, do you prefer floating belts that kind of just all over the place? I prefer it rather than on the floor, but something like this where they're just kind of floating belts? Or do you prefer more of these highway kind of junctions? They look good from the top, but underneath they're just a bit clunky. Obviously this won't be a problem when we unlock more decorations, but just early on, I like to keep things neat and tidy, and I don't know, this just looks a bit weird. The floating belts, I guess, make a little bit more sense because they're much smaller, so I guess, you know, I don't know. Without supports, it looks a little weird. But let me know what you think. Do you prefer floating belts, or do you prefer belt highways? Because I'm torn. I'm not sure which way to lean. But that does us for all of our materials that we need for that starter bit. What we need to do now is get onto actual parts assembly with the assembler. Now, if we want to do modular frames, we're going to need 12 iron rod and 3 reinforced plates. Reinforced plates needs 30 iron plate and 60 screws. Now, we are making 60 iron plates, so what we could do is we could just yoink from one of these bins. I think this one. Nope, this one. We can just yoink from this bin and just start building what we need. However, I want to do something a bit more permanent. I mean, obviously, starter factory, this will probably all get destroyed eventually. But I don't want to just utilize what I have already made to make more complicated stuff. I want to have more permanent factories that are always making the resources, so we always have stockpiles. This game can realistically probably be beaten in about 20 to 40 hours.
How is that possible?
But that's not what we're here for. We're here for the journey, not the destination. And the journey for me is having lots of stuff ready to go. So I think we're going to call that level 2 starter base. But now, if we're going to want to go into parts assembly, I'm going to just need to go get more resources. Because I have used 3 nodes of iron already. Use those 3. But there's 3 more right there. So why don't I just go collect those? Are these all normal nodes as well? Normal, normal, and normal. So there's 3 more normal nodes right there. Why would I not just utilize those? You know? This is nice. We'll leave it as it is. I mean, it's not nice. I'll be honest. I kind of hate it. I hate boxes. Boxes are my enemy. This will only happen at the start of this game. You will never see boxes again. I like to decorate. I like to make things look good. And right now, this is just big box. We will we will avoid that at all costs later on. But let's go do that. We're just gonna go grab some more iron, tidy up a bit, and then we'll get a second mini factory online. And I might bring the resources down here. I don't want to have to like run between 2 factories in order to collect the resources. So I might just try and scoot all the resources down here somewhere. Maybe I'll just make that centralized storage over there for now. I'll think about it. Give me a sec, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go collect all these iron nodes, get them all together, and start building the second factory. And we're back with Jazzy Tips. Well, actually, I want to call this one Spider Tips. Thank you, Spider, for the comment in the last video. You no longer need to spam E to pick up grass. You don't need to, just hold it down. That's huge. I had no idea that was a thing. Anyway, thought I just mentioned that. Thank you, Spider. Hold E, don't spam E.
20 minutes later.
Alrighty, just to kind of give you guys a peek into how I think about my factories before I actually go ahead and build them, is I'll just place down the machines. I'll just try and figure out the numbers by placing down the machines, you know? What we do is just look at, I want 2 modular frames a minute. So I'm going to need 3 reinforced iron plate and 12 rod. Well, rod's nice and easy. That's right here. So that's going to need 15 iron ingot. Reinforced iron plate, that's going to be this one here. This is making 5 a minute. I only need 3. But I feel like I want more than that because I know that reinforced iron plate is used for the Mark III belts, I believe. And I'm going to need a lot more of that. So we'll make 2 of them. We'll have 1 going to a bin and the other one's going to be going into the modular frames. So they need plates and screws. 30 plates, 60 screws, double that, 60 plates, 120 screws. So what do we need? 60 plates. That's 3 constructors. That needs 30, 60, 90 iron ingots. Plus the 15 over there, we're at 105. Then we need the screws. Unfortunately, with this recipe, we're making 150 screws. I'll let the overflow go back into the container. But that means we've got 150 screws. We only need 120, but that's okay. And that's using 12.5 per constructor. So I've got 3 of those. So that is doing 25, 37.5 iron. We've got the rotors. Rotors need rods and screws. Now this last one, just because I'm realizing I'm running out of iron that I could collect from those 3 nodes, I'm going to make this one super inefficient so that we're not going to be making 4 rotors a minute. But I know that we don't need a ton of rotors, at least in the early game. So I'll just make it so that we can at least make some. If I can drill anything into you guys from this playthrough, it is just make something. Let something be automated. Don't try to handcraft 100 of these when you need them. Just have a bin full of them, slowly going over time. You will fill a bin, I promise. Just automate something. So this one is just going to have 50 screws and 15 rods. We need 20 rods and like 100 screws, I think. Yeah, 20 rods and 100 screws. So this is going to be like basically half production, but 2 a minute is still fine. You know, 2 a minute is something. So let me do some quick math here. We have got 12.5 times 4. That's 50. Those are the screws. 15 times 2. Those are the rods. So that's 30. The 90 for the plates. So that is 170. I think that's all I need. Yeah, 170. So we got 170. Iron ingots is what we need. Now I have got 3 belts of 60 coming in. 180. So it's fine. It works. This is going to be enough for my 3 normal nodes that are somewhere over there. in order to kind of produce just the basic stuff of what we need. The reinforced iron plates, the modular frames, and the rotors. Now, if I wanted to go ahead and start making smart plating, this needs 2 reinforced iron plates and 2 rotors a minute. So basically, this setup that I've got here, I could technically be making smart plating with this, but I don't want to. I want to have this as just these resources. We'll just fill bins, and we'll just have more resources. We'll make another factory for the smart plating. It's fine. We're not trying to rush. We're not trying to get through this as fast as possible. We're going to take our time. We're going to build what we need as we need it, and we're just going to get lots of resources. So anyway, that's kind of my process. That's how I kind of do it. You can do this on spreadsheets. You can do this on pen and paper. There are programs on Steam and online on the wiki. There are plenty of ways to do it. This is just, I like to visually see how many machines I'm going to be using. So think about this. I've got 180. 180 divided by 30. So that's going to be 6 smelters. So I'll just set up 6 smelters, and we'll have 6 smelters on top of that. And now I know kind of roughly how big I'm going to need this to be. And thinking about the space that I've got, I'm probably going to want to go 2 stories. So I'll probably have smelters and some constructors down the bottom, and then up top we'll have more constructors and more assemblers. So yeah, I'll see you guys in a sec when I actually get this all built. Tell you what, since we're sticking with the tips and tricks theme for this video, this is something that not everyone may know about. Obviously, it's a conveyor belt elevator. However, that is typically as small as you can make it. But then how did I make it so squat and so cute and make it space saving? Well, if you have it 3 meters high, that's our foundations, and we're in the center of this one. And if we add a conveyor pole right there. Now what that does for us is that if we grab our belt, or our lift, and we do that. So we go from our pole to our splitter, or we can have another pole down here. And that makes these little tiny squat elevators. Now, they are technically clipping. But it's such a tiny little clip that you're not really going to notice it. And saving the space is always worth it. So yeah, when you're in little tight cramped spaces, like this one, that's my ceiling there, you can do these little squat elevators, and it makes life a bit easier when you're managing all of your belts. Cool. I'll keep going with this, and I'll see you guys in a sec. And we are done. Now, I know I said before I was going to build a second factory, but I figured why not just bring all the iron over here and just extend the factory. So I wouldn't call this factory level 3 per se. I would say once we've got smart plating up and running, that's when we can call it level 3. Right now we're probably at like level 2.5-ish. I'll show you what we've got. So this is a little bit more complicated than the basic factory, but it gets the job done. So we've got the 9 smelters all running along here that are just being fed all the ore from up above. We've got these going into our constructors. So all of these constructors are just building all of the rods, plates, and screws. And these are all feeding our assemblers. It's pretty straightforward, but the main thing is just that we've got some of this stuff being made. So now we've got reinforced plate going into a box. We've got modular frames. And as you can probably see, we got very full boxes. Lots of stuff has filled up while we were building this, which is very nice. And rotors, that's the last thing we need as well. So now we've got rotors, modular frames, and reinforced plate all automated. This did take a bit more of a toll on the power situation than I had intended, so I did have to increase our max capacity. We're now at 400 watt. But it all runs. It's all good. It's not perfectly efficient. It's very close to efficient, but it's not perfect. But that's fine. It's a starter factory. They're never perfect at the start. So that might honestly do me for today. We got a lot done. This is the. Let me show you the power. This is this got a bit bigger than I was expecting. So basically, the leaves that are producing the 30 biofuel a minute, because remember this is halved, that is feeding 4 generators. But then the wood that is doing the 60 biomass a minute, that is feeding 8 generators. So remember, these are actually only using about 4 per minute if they were being used constantly. So splitting up 15 along 4 is, I don't even know what that is actually. Let me, 15 over 4 is 3.75. So it's technically not great. It will eventually blow up. But hey, for now, it's fine. As long as we don't use that max consumption. We will need to start working on some more permanent power situation. But for now, we can't really do that while we're just working on biofuel. And I'll be honest, being a Solarpunk playthrough, I don't particularly want to do coal. And maybe we'll make it a little bit of a challenge that we don't use coal power. So what have we got in here that we can do? We've got the farming. So the farming would give us the crop plots and jar of dirt. And we can make biomass from the farm. We could automate power purely off of biomass. That's something that we might look at doing. We'll probably need a ton of biomass generators, but that could be something. You know, it's very green. It's using the crops of the earth. That's what Solarpunk's all about. Integrating nature and technology. That's what we're doing. We're trying to smash them both together. But if we just start getting coal and smoking up the place with smokestacks, no. That's not healthy. That's not healthy. We need a bit of health in our lives. I do absolutely want to get this awesome shop going. That's pretty easy to do, but we might save that for next episode. We'll leave that as a bit of a treat, and then we can actually start decorating a bit. We can at least color code, and that'll be good. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying the series. The response from last episode has been pretty awesome. I don't know why the algorithm has decided to like me, but it has. I'm glad you guys are clicking. I'm glad you're enjoying. Hope you stay tuned for the next one. Thank you very much. See ya.